up, everybody? It's me, Chad, right back with you to review the latest pro wrestling news and results at Planet Wrestling Events, baby! It's been a week away from Wrestling Rants. It's a Thursday, and we are back with a triple threat of rants this evening to make up for some lost time. Just want to give a quick update on everything that's been going on the last week. I have not been able to get any rants in since last Thursday. Took a little vacation back to Chicago over the weekend. Had a great time at the Flashback Weekend horror convention. If you are a horror fan and you have not checked this convention out, it's one of the best in the country. Do yourself a favor and get there next year. This was a fantastic convention this year. As it were, ended up watching SummerSlam over the weekend in Chicago, but did not get enough time to get a mega rant in on SummerSlam. So that's what we're here for now. We're going to shake it up a little bit instead of doing a mega rant on SummerSlam, since we are now, 5 days from the event. We're just going to do a little top 10 take style on SummerSlam and everything about it. Some other extra little bit of information in this top 10 takes on SummerSlam. We won't be just talking about the matches, but that will be a big part. We're going to be rating the matches from SummerSlam sequentially. And then, like I said, we're going to have a little bit of extra bits of information for you for this special top 10 takes looking back at SummerSlam. As it were, I did not make it as well to WWE Raw in Minneapolis on Monday. I didn't have a ticket beforehand. Every single time in my history of going to shows up in Minneapolis, I've always kind of winged it within the last maybe weekend, maybe even the day of. I just try to grab a good single seat. And this was a first, folks, that I was not able to secure any decent ticket for a decent price as well. It was just not to be had with this show. They had a great turnout at Raw Target Center. I think upwards of 9,000 people. That hasn't happened in a long time for WWE, and because of that, the demand for tickets for that show were through the roof. I could not find a good lower level seat for under $200, and when it got to that point, I just could not justify throwing down over $200 for even an upper row, lower level seat. So, in the first time in a long time, I have missed a WWE show in the area. Very, very rare that I actually miss one of these shows, a Raw, SmackDown, etc., etc. But it happened this time around, and did I miss a great Raw? That is for sure. We'll talk a little bit about that in the next rant coming up tonight. That is midweek must-see matches, because there was a trio of matches I feel were must-see from Raw in Minneapolis. So that's coming up ahead this evening after Top 10 Takes SummerSlam 2023. And then we'll close off the evening with a third rant, and that is retrospective looking back on this day in pro wrestling history, August 10th. So let's get to the first rant of the evening. That is Top 10 Takes SummerSlam 2023, Ford Field, Detroit, Michigan. And what a spectacular pay-per-view this was. Man, oh man, I think I liked this better than, I guess in comparison, the 2021 iteration from Las Vegas. And I actually was live at that pay-per-view in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. I thought this pay-per-view was way better than that one. I think as far as comparing to last year's SummerSlam, I feel like the top end of last year's SummerSlam was much better than this year's version, but I feel like the undercard on this SummerSlam was better overall than last year's, and frankly 2021's as well. So a lot going for this SummerSlam this past weekend in Detroit. Let's not waste any more time talking about the detailed little bits and pieces. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of it all, top 10 take style. At number 10, let's talk about all of the records that SummerSlam this year broke or maybe set a precedent on. First and foremost, let's talk about the attendance. This would have been, I believe, doing the numbers, the second best attendance in SummerSlam history. Of course, the first best attended SummerSlam, that was 1992 in Wembley Stadium in London, England for SummerSlam 1992. And on a little side note, AEW All In at Wembley Stadium on August 27th has now officially eclipsed that attendance number. There was around 79,000 legit in attendance for SummerSlam 92. That is the SummerSlam record and the best attendance over in the United Kingdom of all time. Well, that is no longer. All In has surpassed that. But I'm going back to this SummerSlam. Best attendance numbers. Second place of all time. Like I said, the largest was Wembley Stadium, 1992, at 79,000 and some change. This one, WWE claims 59,194 WrestleTix, which I would consider a very reputable source, has for the tickets total through the gates after the event 51,477. That's still a very impressive number, even without inflating it like WWE did by approximately 8,000. So it's still a great number. Over 50,000 fans in attendance at Ford Field. It looked great on TV, no question about it. Other records set. This was the largest SummerSlam audience viewing-wise ever because of the subscription numbers to Peacock and the analytics within that. They could find out and figure out how many people watched SummerSlam and viewed it on Peacock. By far the largest audience ever in 35, 36 years for a SummerSlam event. It also was the most social SummerSlam, meaning the most social media hits, views, YouTube, etc., Facebook, Instagram, things like that. Also, nothing to shake a stick at here, $8.5 million gate. Wow, that is, I believe, a SummerSlam record. I don't think any SummerSlam has gotten numbers like that from the gate. Very impressive. The best merchandise, they set a record for SummerSlam merch 2 years ago in Las Vegas. This beat it by 60%. So they went all the way in on merchandise for this show and made a ton of money from it. So those were just some of the records. Also, sponsorship. $7 million sponsorship. That included the energy drink that was all over SummerSlams. I think it was G4 or something like that, or G2. They also had Slim Jim, of course, sponsoring the Battle Royal. They were all over the place. And then there was another one. I can't remember offhand, but Xfinity or Rocket Mortgage or something like that. They were all over this pay-per-view and sponsorship stuff as well. $7 million just from sponsorship for one event. Damn. That almost equated the entire gate for SummerSlam 2023. Unreal. Let's talk about number 9, another little trivia bit from SummerSlam. These were all the producers for each of the matches. Let's break it down. Shane Helms was the opening match, the Logan Paul Ricochet match. Michael Hayes produced the Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar bout. TJ Wilson did the women's three-way, or TJ Kidd, whatever you want to call him. Also, what else we got here? Adam Pearce and Petey Williams booked the Battle Royal. Sean Daivari laid out the Ronda Rousey Shayna Baszler match, which there was rumors that there was some disagreements with creative with this. So my impression of that was that Ronda and Shayna were at odds with Sean Daivari on how to lay this match out. Also, Jamie Noble produced the Seth Rollins and Finn Balor match. I thought it was great. Chris Park, also known as Abyss, you know him as. He did the Gunther match with Drew McIntyre, that hard-hitting match. And then the main event was co-produced by Michael Hayes once again and Jason Jordan. So there you go on the producers for SummerSlam 2023. Let's get into number 8. This is where we start breaking down the matches. My least favorite match on SummerSlam was, unfortunately, the mess that was Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. Very physical match. We saw Shayna Baszler with a wicked shiner on Raw on Monday from this match. So it was very much worked, stiff, tried to work very realistic. Ronda Rousey, this was her last match in WWE reportedly, and quite a wet fart in the church, so to speak, on this match. It just didn't come together well. The way it was booked didn't feel like a MMA style match. That was a big issue with it. Like I just mentioned, Daivari was the producer of this match, but there was talk backstage that there was creative issues with this match and how they were laying it out as a MMA style match. I think Rousey and Baszler probably tried to get their input in and maybe weren't given much. That's just my impression on it. The way that it came off was kind of a mess. They lost the crowd like 3 times in the match. It was not pretty at all. But Shayna Baszler went over convincingly with a submission win, the first time in Ronda Rousey's WWE entire career that anybody has beaten her by submission. I should have been pushed harder in the booking. We'll see what they do as time goes on with this. But like I said, apparently Ronda Rousey is out of WWE. She's done. I don't know what this means. This is certainly lined up interestingly with the fact that the UFC is merging with WWE. You'd think Rousey would want to stay around. That's an easy tie-in that they could probably utilize Rousey to her best capacity. But instead, she's out of here. So there you go on that. Number 7 of the top 10 takes. This was the Slim Jim's Battle Royal. LA Knight went over. The right guy went over. I thought near the end it started to get really good with Sheamus and LA Knight particularly in there. Who also, those guys had a really good match on SmackDown this week. We're going to talk about it in a little bit on top 10 or on midweek must-see matches. So overall, I thought the Battle Royal was certainly not one of the better Battle Royals booked ever or anything like that. But the right guy went over, and the right momentum coming out of this one for sure for LA Knight. Yeah. All right, Gunther and Drew McIntyre made the list at number 6. I really liked this match, and I'll explain further why. I felt like this match was maybe more must-see than perhaps the main event, perhaps the co-main event even as well. This was just very physical. The one thing I could say about this match was that it was really building, and then it just stopped. Finish came out of nowhere. It was El Finate. I thought this match could have, should have, and would have been great to have 5 or 10 more minutes to it. I think this would have really put it on another level because they were really starting to hit hard in this match. And frankly, I think it's time for a Drew McIntyre heel turn after coming out of this match as well. Number 5, this may be a little controversial, but hear me out. Number 5 I have as the Tribal Warfare match between Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, which was the main event of the show, as we know. But I felt like this match went way too long for its own good, like 35 minutes or something like that. I think this would have been a much better 15 to 20 minute match. You could have given a match like Gunther and McIntyre some more time. I think it would have been a good move. And especially coming near the end of this show, which was already clocked in at over 4 hours, to do a match of this length, pair it with the entrances and the video package, you're talking like a full hour of stuff. It was just too much at the end of the show. I felt myself kind of bored with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, and it's too bad because I didn't expect that going into it. There may have been another thing here that may have played a part in this match, struggling at times, and that was that Roman Reigns apparently kept this on the down low. They're really not tipping their hat on what exactly the injury is, but Roman Reigns apparently injured himself
somewhat significantly near the beginning part of this match. We'll see if as time goes on, if we get any more information on what exactly the injury was, where it was, what happened, etc. But all in all, I think that this match definitely could have been and should have been cut down to size a bit. I didn't mind the finish too much. I know there's been some people bitching about the finish online. I didn't mind it too much. I kind of almost had a feeling that Jimmy Uso was maybe going to turn on Jay to start building that feud, which is obviously next on the horizon. In fact, it may take precedence over the feud with Roman Reigns. I guess we'll see where they go with this. I think ultimately we're going to get a four-way match with both Usos, with Solo and Roman. I don't know. Could they stretch it out to Rumble? Very possible. I think that's certainly within the realm of possibilities for sure. Or maybe even Survivor Series and some sort of deal in there. So that's it for number 5 on the list. Number 4, I had the women's three-way. Again, a match that I felt went a little long. The first half of the match was just kind of there. Could have been cut a little bit. Thought there could have been more physicality on the early outsets of this match. But once the intrigue with Bianca Belair started brewing up, I felt like things started getting much better in this match. In fact, I thought that she did such a good job selling Bianca Belair that I thought she was legitimately injured. It almost felt like the match was to a halt when she was out in the ring selling as well. But that's when the match got really good, ironically enough, and I enjoyed the finish. And I particularly really got into the cash-in afterwards, which we have to include in this. Io Shirai, new champion out of this mix after Belair, defeated Charlotte, kind of defeated both women at the same time. She rolled up Asuka as Charlotte and her were still locked up. It was quite the finish, I will say that much. And I thought it was very well booked how they had Io Sky come in and win the title from Bianca Belair right after she won it. Number 3, Logan Paul and Ricochet. That was the opener of SummerSlam, and what a spectacle of a match this was. I guess going into it, I had a little bit of high expectations, and I kind of feel like they met them in this match full on. Just one high spot after another in this match. Number 2, I had the Seth Rollins and Finn Balor match, which was arguably one of the best matches these guys have had yet in WWE. I thought the story was great as well, and unfortunately I feel like the only real critical part of this thing I have to talk about is the finish. I think Finn Balor should have went over here. I thought it would have made the storyline much more richer with Balor being the champion, Damian Priest teasing the cash-ins on him. How we have it now is Balor and Priest are still having heat with each other, but it's a completely different deal now that Seth Rollins did win this match and the way he won the match as well. But really good. This was so much better than their Money in the Bank match. I went a solid 4 stars on this one. I would also give Logan Paul and Ricochet 3 3/4 to 4 stars. And that leaves number 1, Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar. The second match on this card, I thought it should have been higher on the card. The placement was certainly unusual, but this frickin' delivered. Cody Rhodes was getting his ass handed to him in this match. Then made that babyface comeback in traditional form in a really, really wonderfully laid out match. Thought the post-match was a nice touch as well, with Brock Lesnar kind of going into business for themselves and giving Cody Rhodes that proper respect as he put over Cody, not only clean in the ring, but afterwards with the respect. Wow, just a wonderful presentation there all around. I gotta give SummerSlam this year a very solid B+. If the last 2 matches, the women's and the men's title matches, would have been just a little bit better, I think this show would have been way over the top in the A territory. but it is what it is. Still a really solid SummerSlam. All right, folks, stay tuned. Coming up next, midweek must-see matches right to you, and it was a very busy week in wrestling on that level. So let's talk about it. Coming up next, midweek must-see matches. Back here, wrestling. Wrestling.